Beginning in a dark room with no monitors switched on, and it's quite a grainy affair. We do notice that when we switch from 1440p over to the 1080, then there is a difference in the lighting. There is a lot of ghosting and pixelation, but surprisingly, it looks like we do get those full 60 frames per second at 1080. When we switch on our monitors, then it does generate a lot of light, and it does struggle with the auto exposure with our face looking very washed out. This was also the same result at 1082, and when we have them side by side, we can't really see much of a difference between the two resolutions. When we let in natural light through the window, then that exposure really is a problem. The image quality isn't the best either, and that's in both 1440p and 1080, with it looking quite grainy. The movement still looks good at 1080p as well, using those 60 frames per second, but let's go and sort out that auto exposure issue. And it turns out that we can't, because we've got no controls whatsoever with this webcam, so we are stuck with having a really washed out face. That is unless you are a distance away from the light source, and quite a distance away from the lens of the camera. Moving on to using ring lights in front of us, and again that exposure is really causing us some issues. We are still not getting a crisp image from this either, that is in both 1440 and 1080, so we decide to add some colour lights on behind us, and look what happens. We've turned into an orange, and the problem we've got is that we can't move the sliders in OBS either, so we can't configure the white balance or the saturation to amend this. And do you remember when Mr. Miyagi used to do wax on wax off? Well, we started doing that with this webcam, and just look what happens. It's very weird how we go one way and there's a complete change in saturation. We go the other way, it goes back to what it was. I'm pretty certain that that is not supposed to be happening. It comes with autofocus, and when we tried to focus on our small Lego character, it really did struggle. It just wouldn't adjust itself. But when we did try with a larger object, that seemed to kick the autofocus in, and it did perform much better. We then removed our green screen in OBS, and it did actually perform quite well. Little bit of pixelation at the bottom, but that is more to do with our lighting setup. This is a microphone test using the Nuroum V15-AF using the 1440p mode. And this is the same microphone test, but we've now switched to 1080p. This is the kind of audio you can expect from the inbuilt microphones.